Hi, my name is Tim Fletcher, and welcome to the Time with Tim Fletcher podcast. I'm the founder of and president of the Tim Fletcher Company, and you may know me from YouTube, where we publish my talks that I do on complex trauma and addiction and recovery. I started helping people as a pastor almost 40 years ago, and then after experiencing my own significant trauma, I had to leave being pastoring and ended up transitioning into the addiction treatment world. And while in the addiction treatment world, I came across the research of Dr. Gabor-Mate, and it was showing that over 90% of people with addiction have childhood trauma issues. And that really started me down the road of investigating complex trauma and understanding it. And so much that I have done is just built off of that research and just started to add more and more stuff. And so over the past 20 years, I've spent my life understanding complex trauma and how it works itself out into all kinds of different behaviors. And what we've seen is that complex trauma is the root of so many of the problems that we have in society today, from homelessness to people in prison to addiction to a lot of mental health issues to a lot of disorders. And so it's just been my privilege to be part of pioneering in this field of understanding complex trauma. So complex trauma, if you're not familiar with it, is just really stuff that typically happens in childhood that is either known or has been deeply buried. You're not even aware of it because of neglect, but it could also come out of abuse. And it manifests itself in many different maladaptive coping mechanisms that become behavior patterns, that become unhealthy things that begin to ruin a person's personal life, relationships, and affects every aspect of their life negatively. I developed a program to begin helping people deal with these, not just these maladaptive behaviors, but also the root complex trauma issues. And it was called REACT, Recovery Education for Addiction and Complex Trauma. And then once COVID hit, we put that online and we called it LIFT. So it's LIFT Online Learning. And now we offer people Align, which is the self-study course that you can do it all on your own. And it's just a desire to develop more and more ways for people to access recovery programs that work for them. And so in this podcast, we're just going to be having genuine, open conversations with guests. Some of them you may know, some you may not know, but we're going to dive into their journeys. We're going to explore how complex trauma has shaped their life. And we're going to talk about practical strategies for learning, for healing, for recovering from complex trauma. And we're also going to chat with some experts in the mental health field and the trauma field and really begin to look at the latest research, what we're understanding about healing complex trauma, and just the nuances of complex trauma as a whole. We're going to release some bonus episodes on occasion for people. We're going to also release some audio versions of past lectures that I've done so that you can listen to them wherever you are. And so with that, I invite you to join us on this journey on the Time with Tim podcast. You can listen wherever you enjoy your podcasts, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. But thank you for joining me, and let's get started.